Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone today. Make sure that you drink plenty of water and stay hydrated over these next 3 days. I'd like to call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole of the Wayne County Commission to order. Roll call, please.
The board is open for roll call. Commissioners Garza and Kniezek are excused. Motion carried.
All right. Thank you so much. Next item.
Chair remarks.
No remarks at this time. Next item, please.
Approval of the minutes of the March 4th, 2026 meeting.
Been moved by Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydun, supported by Commissioner Marecki. Any corrections? Anything to delete from the minutes? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carried.
Okay, very good. Next item.
We have no unfinished business. The next item is E1, is a communication from the Detroit Historical Society and the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, requesting the creation of a joint authority with Oakland County pursuant to the Recreational Authorities Act, Public Act 321 of 2000.
All right, very good. So in your package, you have the analysis prepared by our attorney. Some of you may have spoken to representatives over the last few weeks on this issue. Just a little bit of background before I ask them to the table. There was legislation put forth at the state level. However, it stalled at lame duck, and there it sits with many other pieces of legislation that unfortunately didn't get passed out from the session before last at the state level. This act here is a way to help the museums with the much needed funding that they need to continue to operate for the citizens of Wayne County. So I'll just say those as my remarks, and I'll let the actual people who run the museums come to the table right now from the African American Charles H. Wright African American History Museum and the Detroit Historical Museum, and they will give some background as to why this is before us, how this will benefit us, and what we should do if we so desire to move this forward. So turn on your microphone. There's a green. If you hit the long button that says push, a green light will come on and you will be all right, and bring the microphone close to you, and then I will now turn it over. Please state your name and organization for the record. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Neil Barclay. I have the great privilege of being the president and CEO of the Charles Wright Museum.
Good morning. I'm Ilana Rue. I am the president and CEO of the Detroit Historical Society.
So what we wanted to start is just give you a little bit more color to what Chairman Bell mentioned about this particular issue that you have in front of you. Alana and I started about at the same time in our institutions, and we came into a situation where both institutions were severely underfunded and did not have the resources to run as designed. Because of that, we in 2021, I believe it was, went to the state legislature and asked for a bill that would allow a millage of 0.2 to be put on the ballot in support of the two institutions and virtually any county in the state. However, we were at that point going to be going to Oakland and Wayne counties, why we are in front of you today. That bill at that point was not put up for a vote. It came out of committee, bipartisan committee unanimously, and never made it to the floor. In 2024, we then had a bill, the same bill went through the House and the Senate, was approved, and then was turned over, when it was turned over for signature, the House objected as it had changed hands in terms of who had the majority, and decided that they didn't have to put the bill in front of the governor. The Senate would sue the House because of that. They would win in the circuit court, they would win in the appellate court, and now it is at the front of the Supreme Court. Because of the situation, however, that we're in at this point, where the funds now, what is it, 6, 7 years later, are now desperately needed. We've spent reserves, we've spent monies that we've had to continue to organize, to run the organizations. We then have moved to this Recreation Act 321. And this act is slightly different from the bespoke bills, as we call them, in that it requires two counties to create one authority that would then provide the support that the museums need. And so that's where we are in terms of legislation. I can tell you from the rights perspective, this is a critical time for us. We are hearing throughout our field the sort of precarious nature that it's museums, and particularly history museums, frankly, particularly African American history museums, are in at this moment. As you know, our funding has been basically cut at the federal level. Big part of our operating support that we had historically. So, you know, we're in a situation where we're coming from in front of you to seek this support. And I'll turn over to Alana for further comments.
Also want to introduce our board chairs are here with us, George Hamilton from the right and John Decker from the Detroit Historical Society. I'll just follow up by confirming what Neil said. This has been a critical time. Our organizations have historically been underfunded. Neil and I knew that when we took these jobs, and we quickly realized that we wouldn't be able to fundraise our way out of this, having to raise millions of dollars each year and then the next year starting over again just to make payroll and keep the lights on. And our communities are really familiar with millages. We know that folks have supported in this way, just like they did with the DIA and the Detroit Zoo. And so we're really asking for the same thing, but a little bit different path. We are excited about the benefits that will come to Wayne County residents, and that's what we've outlined in the handout today. So the vote itself would be for 0.2 mils over 10 years. This act itself allows for much more and much longer, but we feel that that's appropriate. It will cost about $30 a year for a $300,000 home and provide a lot of exciting benefits. So free admission for every resident, free transportation for students and seniors, expanded exhibits, and, obviously protecting all of the artifacts that we have. We intend to work even more closely than we already do with the teachers in the county. And, one thing that's exciting too, which we talked to many of you about, is that there will be a specific carve out at the top of the funding when it comes in that will be set aside for other history organizations in Wayne County to apply for grants. And we know, because we work with so many of them, that, that is not something they have the ability to do right now. It's almost $1 million a year. And so we're very excited about that also. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Time is of the essence. We couldn't wait 2 more years to see if the legislation that we had originally proposed would make it through. By then, things would be significantly different for us.
Okay. Are there any remarks by the board chairs that you'd like to give?
No, I think it's all been said. Thank you for allowing us to be here and present this opportunity to help us further fund our institutions. So thank you.
I would just add that hopefully the history you've heard today shows that we are an organization of people who care. We care about your history and we care about the residents' history, and we thank you for your time and the opportunity today to present.
Yeah, thank you. I know you can't cry over spilt milk, but I think the desire that I would have had, hindsight is 2020, would have been for the museums to have been included with the DIA. That would have made, sense to have done it at that time, to have a complete museum millage to support all of our gyms. But again, hindsight is 2020. But here we are today, and we understand the need and the funding situation that you are in, and it's also too bad that the legislature couldn't have done their part 2 years ago to alleviate you being here today, but here we are today. I don't know if there are any questions from members. I'm sure there are, because I want you to emphasize again that part of the articles would include that other museums in Wayne County, and we'll just talk about Wayne County, but this is a tandem effort. In order for this to go forward, it would have to be approved by both Oakland County and Wayne County to move forward. So if we do it and Oakland does it, or Oakland doesn't, we don't, it's a non-starter. We both have to be on the same page. We're meeting first, and I believe Oakland is meeting towards the end of July, if I'm not mistaken. Or what, does anyone know? The 7th? They're having their coming on the 7th. Okay, so, but that's just a little bit of background as far as what this is and why it is. But the important part to remember that it won't be just for these two museums. Other museums in Wayne County and Oakland County will also benefit from these funds if the voters decide. And we're not putting it on the ballot. We are creating the authority, and then the authority would then put it to the voters, and then the voters will ultimately decide if this is something that's beneficial to them or not. So I'll take questions. Commissioner Palomero.
Yeah, just to that point on passing both counties, as I want to be clear, if it passes in Wayne County by 300,000 votes, but fails in Oakland County by 1 vote, then it does not come into existence. So it's not the totality of the county's votes combined. It must pass in both counties.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Kinlock.
Madam Chair, I move to forward to full board a recommendation to authorize the creation of a joint authority with Oakland County pursuant to the Recreational Authorities Act, Public Act 321 of 2000.
Okay, and remember, we are still in discussion, so I'll entertain the motion if there's support at this time, but we'll still do the discussion before a vote. Okay, it's supported by Commissioner Scott, but we're still in discussion. Discussion, Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate the effort to put this authority together because we, as you indicated, are under attack. I believe history is important to all of us, and creating the authority to the chair's comment about the authority that exists right now with the Arts Authority. Is there a way that we could amend the current authority to add other museums? Have we looked at that at all?
The DIA millage.
Right.
I don't think we can because that was a separate language and millage. Yeah, so I don't think we can add on to that. I don't know
Okay.
if our council did any research on that or if you are, but I don't think you can add on to an existing millage if it's not, if one, they don't want it, and I don't think they have
Yeah, I was
requested it.
just wondering if there was
Any
any
conversation
yes,
with,
or
did you ever talk to
any
DIA?
thought, yes.
Long time ago.
Long time
Where
ago
we began.
did. I mean, to answer the question, technically, no, there's an enabling legislation at the state level that allows that authority to be created by these counties. And that has a sole purpose to support the DIA or a museum of that equivalent. And we were seeking a similar legislation for the historical museums in Charles H. Wright. But the what we're moved to here is actually a more general public museum authority. And so that's where we're getting the authority here to ask for this. But no, that would have happened. That wouldn't be able to happen under the
Okay.
current construct.
I just wondered about that because, but I don't know. It seems to me that that would
It
probably
sure would have been easier and saved us 7 years, but
exactly. So I just, that was the first thought. The grants that you will offer to other museums, what does that look like? The process to get the grant and how much would be granted to those museums, and which museums would that be?
It's a good question, Commissioner. It is in the articles proposed that the amount would be 9% of the amount collected would be contracted between the authority and the counties themselves to distribute the grants to public historical museums as they feel are appropriate. And so the details of that will be worked out between the county and the authority, but the idea currently is it will be 9%. That would be hard coded into the articles that are formed. And then the contracts with the counties, it would be the counties distributing those funds as they see the need.
Yeah, each county would decide itself how to administer that and what kinds of grants, what amounts, all of that. That we're excited about it in general, but that's going to be up to you to decide, or to the board, how to administer that.
All right. So 9% would be about
Just under $1 million.
under $1 million. Okay.
Mhm.
And are the funds divided between the museums?
So the
For
funds
the
that come in are 60-40 per
60-40,
percentage. And it's based on
okay.
the relative size of our budget. So Wright's
Mhm.
budget is about 20% bigger, I guess,
Okay.
than the historical museum's budget.
Okay. And that's in the.
That would also be hard coded into the article.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
of authority to create.
All right. And currently, philanthropic partners, they contribute most of the funds to continue
Correct.
operating, right? So how will that impact your philanthropic partners? Are they still on board even with the millage? Would
Well, we
that
hope
reduce
so.
the amount?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
then, simply for us, and then you can, is that they will be excited to fund special project as opposed to giving us general operation to help us make payroll and keep the museums open. So it would be for, additional new programming and exhibits and things like that. So they've all been behind us from the beginning of this, very excited. And it's hard to guess
Mhm.
how they, it will be affected exactly, but we know that they all will continue to support us.
And
Yeah.
last question.
I would just say similarly, I think what we've done the last several years is we've raised about $9 million from our philanthropic partners. So it's we do expect them to continue to support us mostly in terms of project support. However, one of the things that will be incumbent upon both of us once we get the millage is to begin to raise money for endowment, because this is a 10-year window that we have. Our operating costs would be covered, but then at the end of 10 years, we could be back. And so because of that, we would be raising endowment dollars to replace what would be the millage in 10
To be
years.
more self-sustaining
Okay.
than we are now.
And current operations, are you, I guess you're not in the red. You continuously though have to.
Well, we are running a deficit budget right now,
Oh, okay.
in, working through reserves, and that's to keep with the most amazing staff. Both of our institutions, our staff work together a lot. Obviously, that's the most important part of our work is the people that do it. And so we, since in the 8 years that I've been there, really worked hard to have the right staff doing the right work. We still don't have enough staff. The ones that we do have are really stretched thin, but and so we are running a deficit budget, board approved, in order to be able to retain the staff that we have. And we're looking forward to growing to being the right size to do everything we need to for the community.
Okay. You just made me think of one more question. So the authority that is being set up, how many members are you looking at to be on the board, and where do they come from? What does that look like?
This would also be hard coded in the articles. It would be 5 members, 1 from this commission, 1 from the executive of each county. So that's 1 county commission from each, 1 executive appointed from each. The 5th member would be rotated, the executive of either county, because there's 2 counties and there's 5 members, every 2 years. The first being Oakland. It was just the way it came out in the discussions that Oakland will be contributing about 60% of the millage funds in between the 2 counties.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a quick question. So 0.2 mils for 10 years. Will this only be levied on residential properties, or does it also apply to commercial properties?
Residential.
All properties? Our lawyer is saying all properties,
All
but this is the same as the DIA and the zoo. It's not familiar with the particulars of how the millage is conducted, but it would be all properties, the same as the zoo and the DIA.
So you're talking about properties that could be assessed at like $3-4 million commercial properties, then they have to pay 0.02 mils on that assessment. I don't know how that would work with commercial properties. Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you would like to see this on the November ballot of this year, right? Okay. You mentioned that your federal funds are gone. How much were the federal funds?
Our federal fund support was about, I'd say 20-25%. It would vary from year to year. They had several different grant programs. So depending on which ones we applied to.
28% of your,
our budget's about budget currently is 13 million, but in a typical year, it would be about that much.
so the federal funds were 25% in both places, both museums?
Not both.
No,
museums,
ours were
local.
less. Yeah, it was, we took a hit or haven't been able to apply even for about $500,000 in grants a year. That has gone away for us in the current administration.
Okay, all right.
But to your question, there were several grant programs specifically designed, for example, for our museums, and which we are now all gone.
Okay.
So these are the IML, Institute of Museum and Library Science grants, are no longer
They're
available.
just gone.
Mhm.
Okay.
They're gone altogether. Yeah. And that could be $500,000, for example. In a given
Oh,
year.
okay. All right. That makes more sense. So you're talking about the 9% going to the counties to determine what museums so what would be, and maybe you don't know this, and the counties would have to determine themselves, like what would be a museum? Like, could I put something in my house and call it the Livonia Museum? I mean, are there specific,
No, I think that's a great question. I think we're
What?
talking about city museums. There are a lot of city museums spread out
Community
throughout the county,
Museum.
community-based museums. And those details would be worked out between the county and the authority to ensure that the dollars are being spent appropriately. And yeah.
okay, so I'm sure the county would have control over that. I'm just curious.
Right.
like,
Yeah, they
what
would
a
need to be
museum is.
501c3s and, direct benefit to the community, open to the public. I think we can assist with that, but it really is
Yeah.
going to be up to.
Up to the counties. Okay.
Up to that point,
yeah.
did you want to add something? Alicia?
Through the chair to this honorable body. So under this act that we're working under, they have to be public museums. So they can't be privately owned. They have to be public museums. The way the articles are set up is indicated that 9% will come back to each county. And then it will be incumbent upon that county to determine how to distribute that 9% to public museums.
Public museums. Okay. Thank you. So I guess my little Livonia Museum wouldn't get any money.
Not the one in your house anyway.
Would get it. Okay, I have a question on this sheet.
Yep.
Under the case for community support, under access, this is $30 a year unlocks free admission for every resident and free transportation for every child. So if somebody wants their children picked up to go to the museum, does a little bus come and pick them up?
No, that's probably not a subtle, sure. No, I think what we meant is busing for all. Although a part of what we're excited about also and what our intention is to be out in the community more. So we've heard this in meetings with quite a few folks from the county that, us being able to go out into rec centers, for instance, and bring programming there that we haven't done before and really formalizing a project around that. So I think that helps with that. But no, we need to probably shore up that language. So we mean, free transportation through busing for students and seniors throughout
Okay,
the
like
county.
group buses, for
Yes.
senior.
Right.
Yeah.
Typically, the schools.
Yeah, typically through the schools or camps.
The chief
like
impediment
that.
that we had found from kids coming
Into the mic, Neil.
the chief impediment that we had found for kids coming to the museum was they didn't have transportation to get there.
Yeah.
So the busing is going to be really important. Even some schools who would like to come, they can't afford the bus to bring their kids in. So this would alleviate that problem. So
Yeah,
any school that wanted
it's
to bring
done a
kids.
great
could do
job. And the zoo's done a great
Yeah,
job.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Peterson Mayberry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was my question about the schools. I know there's a lot of partnerships right now in some of the school systems. So being able to have that transportation is
Yeah.
great. Some of them call them passports.
Yeah.
So the passport program gets them to the DIA and all the museums. I do have a question, and I know it was mentioned in our packet about the membership and the way the membership is compiled. And I don't know if for me, there was a little ambiguity with the way the terms are staggered, although they're starting on 3 years, but some of them actually start only with 2 years. Is that, can someone speak to that?
Through the chair to this honorable body. So in the end, we will have, again, 5 members, one by each board of commissioners and one by each CEO. They will serve 3-year terms in the long run. And then that 5th member that's rotated between the CEOs will serve a 2-year
2
term.
years, right.
Now, the initial terms will be staggered so that you don't have a new board every term. So the way the initial terms will work is that the Board of Commissioners will appoint for 3 years, the 2 CEOs will appoint for 2 years, and then that 5th member will stay a 2-year appointment. But after those initial ones, then the CEOs, 2 appointments will turn to 3 years, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I saw 3 years and then I saw 2 years for both of those. Okay. Thanks for clarity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Palomero?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commission Council, for your excellent analysis. Just to clarify a couple of those aspects, because we're going the authority route, it does not go against the county's millage cap. That is accurate, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and neither does it apply to the 60% majority that's in the charter that calls for new taxes to be enacted. It does not apply to that.
That is correct.
Okay. Lastly, because timing isn't necessarily everything, but it's always the most important thing in questions like this, are we aware of any other tax initiatives or millage renewals that are going to be on the ballot in November as well, countywide? I'm not talking about local taxes, but do we know if there's any millage renewals or new taxes that are going to be on the Wayne County ballot in November?
I'm not sure, and I don't know if Scott would know by chance, since he's sitting there.
We do believe that the zoo is renewing their millage.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Right now.
yep. The zoo is doing it in November. Yeah, that's what we voted on. Yeah, it is. Mhm.
Thank you.
And Scott, that's accurate. It's just the zoo, correct? Yes, yeah. Louder, come to the microphone, Scott, real quick. Not that one doesn't work. The one here at the table, just speaking to the one at the table real quick.
Hopefully, short. The Transit Authority, just to mention it, is coming on August ballots. But I know we're talking about November.
Yes.
So relative to November, yes.
Yes. So the transit is in August and the zoo and potentially this one would be in November.
Yes.
Yes.
And as far as the term of the millage goes, whether the levy would be summer or winter, I suppose that could be worked out in the ballot language or just by virtue of how things are set up.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Kimlock. Oh, I'm sorry, but to that point,
To that point,
Commissioner Maydoun.
Scott, to that point, you just mentioned that it could be levied on either the summer or the winter tax, or maybe both.
I suppose in principle, it could be levied on either, or, it could be a 50-50 split or whatever the case might be. I'm not aware of any preclusion to, structuring it according to the desire of the board and or the county commission. So, the current protocol, and this may or may not be what's envisioned, is to have all the authorities go on the December 1st or winter.
Yeah, that's easier because that's the lesser amount of the tax.
Right, and it kind of keeps more of a balance between the summer and winter. The county's operating, relative to the county itself, county's operating millage goes on in summer, and then the extra voted millages go on the winter. That's for the county proper. And then for the other millages for the authorities, for the arts, zoo, and transit at this time, go on the winter. So which I believe would corresponds to the notion of having, sort of balancing the seesaw a little bit between the seasons.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Kinlock.
Thank you. Okay, so just want to speak to for more clarification as it relates to the $1 million of discretionary monies that will go back to the respective arts authorities. So it is intended that, or at least allowed for that discretionary fund, those discretionary funds to support public libraries. But also those funds can be utilized to support grant and programming that could support some community based initiatives. And not you mentioned as relates to nonprofits, similar to what the DIA authority does as well. So it may not go for the support of operation, but absolutely for for programs for some of those nonprofits that based on a program a program or a grant that the arts authorities may decide to set up. No, I'm talking museums. I'm saying no, I'm sorry. So I'm saying arts authority, say the museum authority. I'm sorry. Yeah, the museum authority. So yes, for clarification, you can set up grant programs as well as other programs to support those various community
It would
programs.
all be up to the discretion of this commission, how they want to define what the grants
You
are.
mean the arts authorities?
Museum authority.
The money goes,
Money comes
the
directly
money
to
comes
the
to the
commission.
county,
Oh,
not
right.
to the, it comes to the county for the county to decide how to
Oh,
spend
that's great. Okay.
that money.
Hmm. Great. That's good.
Felicia, did you have a?
Yeah, through the chair, so the authority that would be established would levy the tax, collect the tax, they would distribute. The proposal is that 9% from each county will come back to the county itself for the county to distribute. It's estimated that Wayne County's 9% would be roughly $1 million. And while it's coming back to the county, it's still subject to the act. So there's still requirements, and the act is public museums. So it's not, you have some discretion on how you distribute, but who gets the money? This is a tax that's levied under a statute to support public museums and public facilities in general, but specifically in this instance, public museums. Now, if the Charles H. Wright or the Dawson or the Detroit Historical Museum want to create partnerships and other things with their 60 and 40%, that's obviously up to them. I'm not sure how their operations work, but just understand that these are public museums.
Got it.
Got it. Okay. Commissioner Killeen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And on that point, this authority is being established under a different law than the art authority.
Correct.
And the zoo authority. In the law for the art authority, it says that the dollars collected via a millage go to an encyclopedic museum, which is kind of a technical term, but the only encyclopedic art museum is the DIA. So there's no funds going from the DIA millage to other kinds of art museums. This is a different law. The language is different. And so there is a carve out that local, there's a great one out in, like your own Greenfield Village out there in Livonia for historical buildings in Livonia. And there's other communities that have similar local. And I support that, right? I mean, but these kind of cultural institutions are so vital to communities, right? Look at the money people have spent to establish the DIA, to establish the Detroit Public Library, to establish the Detroit Historical Museum. We've recognized for a long time that these institutions are so important. And I think we've seen both with the zoo and the DIA that both of those institutions are a little bit more public these days and reaching out into the community and changing exhibits and that sort of thing to reflect.
I've been a member of the Historical Society for a while, and I really like over the last 4 or 5 years the kind of changes that have gone both at Dawson and downtown here. So I think it's good. It'll be more community conversation. There'll be more input from the community into these cultural bastions, that they will reflect more of the entire view of Wayne County in terms of the programming that goes on there. But yeah, it's a different law that this is organized under than the DIA is. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Kinlock.
Okay, yes. Just a point of clarification. What I wanted to say was that the programming could be established by the both of the museums for the purpose of supporting nonprofits in the space of community-based museums. But of course, it would have to be appropriated from the commission, from the various commissions, I guess, to the museums. The museums can establish those programs for the supported museum at Terry Marecki's house. but we can't allocate. We have to allocate it to the various museums. So those partnerships could potentially be in the future.
Yeah, that's correct, Commissioner. And we would be open to discussing any partnerships or programming that was of desire to the county.
Yeah, we work with all of quite a few historical museums and throughout the county now. So I would imagine that we continue to do partnerships with them, notwithstanding a set aside.
Absolutely.
Right. So there would be the set aside, but there would also be the work that we would do with other historical museums throughout the county that we do to this day.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions, Commissioner Anderson? Oh, no. Question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. If the authority decides that the 0.2%, I think that's what it is not sufficient 5 years from now, how would they go about increasing that?
They would not be allowed to do that under the current articles. The millage would be set for 10 years. That's a smaller number of years as mentioned than is possible. What would have to happen for any kind of a renewal would be to come back to this to this body and Oakland. That's how they're currently drafted.
And how is there any language that would require those institutions to continue raising money, or can they just back off and say, okay, we don't have to raise money now because we've got the tax dollars coming in? So I'm just concerned that we would find ourselves in a situation down the road that would necessitate an increase in the tax.
Understood, Commissioner. I think there on that point, what you're looking at is the people here in saying we will continue to raise, and you're looking at incentives. Our incentive is to build endowment to keep the future going. We've got 100-year history for historical, 60 years for Charles Wright. And so there is that trust that we will continue because we have incentive to. But on the back end, this is a relatively shorter millage. And so when and if we come back for a question about a renewal because of the shorter time frame, we expect the very first question to be, what did you do? What did you do? And so we've seen history of that with the zoo and with the DIA on multiple renewals where that question's been asked and answered, and the community's been happy with it. And we aim to be in that same basket.
Okay. Would you expect that the historical museum, the Henry Ford Museum, and others would in that facility would be eligible for funding?
Eligible in which manner? I mean, under the millage?
The 9%?
For the 9%.
Under the 9%.
I think there's a question still about who would be eligible, and that would have to be discussed with the counties and the authority and their council and make sure it's all appropriate. But to the extent they weren't directly beneficiaries, we have programs with other museums and would be open to working with any other museums to make that programming happen, because our intention is to push out more into the broader county.
They are technically a public museum. To answer your question, they are a public museum. So technically, yeah, they would be eligible for your set aside, but that would be governed by whatever rules you put in place to how that money should be distributed.
And historical villages would probably qualify, correct?
Probably.
Because it is a different type of a museum. I mean, you've got not Green View or Green Field. No, I was going to say it's Green Mead in Livonia, very large outdoor, but it has indoor facilities too. But it's similar to Green, like the Henry Ford Village, similar to that. For those that don't know that already, but so yeah, Green Mead, I would think they would qualify. And how about smaller ones such as individual communities? City of Wayne, the City of Westland, both have much smaller type museums.
Yeah, I think, well, as you know, the Wayne County History Project that the Historical Society has been working on, that has our exhibit here at the Guardian Building. I hope everybody's had a chance to see that. We work with all of those. And, I think provided they meet the legal criteria that is determined by by the county, then they would, and they need it much more than an organization like the Henry Ford, that's so well funded. So I think even in our discussions with them, even a grant of $5,000 to help, even staff, as we know, most of these are run by volunteers, and that would be a huge benefit to them.
Certainly.
That was where that 9% would come from. It would come from
Correct.
our county.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's all.
And to that point, one Felicia, and then Commissioner Clemente.
Through the chair, to that point, actually 2 points. So with regards to the length of this authority, I think it should be pointed out that it's set up different from the DIA and the zoo. The DIA and the zoo, their authorities can actually initiate and go out for renewals after their millages expire, like the zoo is doing now. They voted, that did not come back to the counties. The way this authority is set up, it will actually require another vote of the counties. So they get their initial 10 years, assuming that it's passed in November. But if they wanted anything beyond that, that would require reauthorizations by each county. So unlike the other ones where they can just continue to go, this one does not have that ability. It will actually require reauthorization, as that's how the articles are set up. With regards to the expenditure of the 9%, I want to emphasize that this act is for public facilities, specifically in this instance, public museums. If this passes, 9% will come back to the county, likely through an arrangement and agreement with the authority. And we would have to make sure everyone's on the same page and understanding of what is a public museum. But I think it's difficult for everyone to answer that question now because there are some varying opinions regarding what's public. But I think, in my opinion, it's not, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that those discussions will take place in the future and get clarified in the future. And then it would be, again, within the discretion of Wayne County to determine how those funds are actually allocated and spent once they're collected and given back.
Thank you. Commissioner Clemente, then Commissioner Peterson-Mayberry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question about once this authority is established, and we're calling it the Southeast Michigan Public Historic Museum Authority, which is a lot of words, not to get confused with any of our other authorities. It looks like a lot of it is housed in Oakland, and I don't know if this has been established or not, but we will have somebody from this commission, blah, blah, blah. Where will the meetings take place, and who is Oakland in charge of everything, the meetings, the notes and all that stuff?
Well, we talked about that briefly.
I must have missed it.
No, I'm sorry, not us. The lawyer and I talked about it. The county meetings will be here as the DIA and the zoo are. The Oakland meetings will be wherever they designate their meetings to be, and they'll alternate. But go ahead, Felicia.
So the answer is to be determined. So at some point, someone has to be responsible or should be responsible, one of the municipalities, for their records. Oakland County was willing to do it. So as long as they're housed somewhere for legal purposes, that's fine. With regards to like operations, who will clerk the meetings, either the authority can reserve some funds to hire someone, or that can be done by Wayne or Oakland County. That's also to be determined by the authority once it's established. With regards to the housing, it was just a point of negotiation. They were willing to do it. But as far as the meetings, again, that authority board, which is 5 members, and at this point, 3 would be from Oakland County. They'll determine when those meetings will be. I'm assuming in the beginning they'll be in Oakland County.
And the Open Meetings Act, you have to abide by all the, okay, very good. Thank you.
And that's the reason why the articles indicate when we talk about one of the counties helping with the administration. So there's someone from those counties who's familiar with the Open Meetings Act, familiar with postings, can help the authority to ensure that they stay in compliance with those laws.
Commissioner Peterson Mayberry.
Oh, actually, Felicia just addressed it. It was around the renewal part, or if there was a renewal part, because I know with the zoo, there's a renewal. So thank you.
Okay. Okay, any additional discussion, questions? If you could, before we vote, talk maybe just briefly about each of you, what you think one of your most successful exhibits have been over the last year. Because there have been so many, but what do you think has been your most successful over the last year?
Can I start?
Yeah.
I'm very excited that just a couple weeks ago we launched the Hustle 2. So I'm not sure if folks would remember, but 3 years ago we had the first one, which was a celebration of history as it's being made. And this was an effort to crowdsource nominations of entrepreneurs in the area who are people of color who have done great things in their business. And we were able to tell the stories of 30 Detroit area residents in the museum, and their stories will be told there for all time. And so we just launched the second group of that. We had over 800 nominations, 100 finalists, and we'll be telling 35 stories. So people don't often think about museums as being current, but we're not your grandma's dusty old museum. We are collecting history as it's being made also, and it's a big responsibility that we have so that 100 years from now, people will know what it's like to live in Wayne County, during this time. So that's what I'm most excited about right now.
The award that won?
Yeah, the first time around, the Hustle won actually every museum award, locally, regionally, and nationally. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
At the right, the core exhibit continues to be the most visited and the most impactful exhibition that we have. Folks come back over and over. The core exhibit and Still We Rise, for those who don't know, is actually the model for the Smithsonian's exhibit, also on the story of African Americans in this country. Our curators helped to develop that and with the Smithsonian, but that continues to be the most visited. So one of the most popular was probably Ruth Carter's exhibition, the costumes from all of the movies that Ruth Carter actually did, which actually reflect various aspects of history. She did Malcolm X. She did a number of different movies over the years, and is the first African American woman to have won 2 Academy Awards for costume design. So there's over 10 films, including the most recent Wakanda films, and we were the first museum to actually show both sets of Wakanda costumes. Only museum actually in the country so far that has been able to show both of them at the same time. So that was probably one of the more popular exhibits, but it's still and Still We Rise. We're going to be working in the next few years on and sort of improving and enhancing that exhibit with more media interactive features to it. So that'll be exciting. And then in just a few weeks, the exhibit that opens is on the Electoral College. And I think that a lot of people have some confusion about what that is, how it operates, why we have it. And it's a really I think the staff has done an incredible job in designing the exhibit, which really ask the question of how did we come about having that? Do we still want that? Why would we want it? Why might we not want it? So it's exciting. We're really excited about that, and working with a number of voting organizations across actually the country right now, and really bringing up these issues. Right.
Very good. Thank you for that. Both institutions are gems to our community, and we thank you for all the hard work that you've done to make sure that it's accessible and that you continue to have it for our children and adults alike, because it's a wealth of information that we find in both of those museums. So thank you for coming out today. There is a motion on the floor, and just so that we're clear, the motion would allow the creation of a joint authority. And this will, if it passes today, it will go to the full board meeting on the 14th, not this week, but the 14th, because we have to post it because of the nature of what it is. So it's been moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Scott. We do any further discussion before we vote? Oh, Commissioner Wilson.
Just a quick closing comment.
Turn your microphone on, sir.
Is it? It is on.
It's on, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was like, you close it. You have a booming voice normally, but go ahead.
Oh, a lot of stuff going on, but thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, very honored to have you here today. This is incredibly important to our history. As an African American male, obviously the African American Museum, Charles Wright Museum, and all of those entities play a crucial role in terms of our kids' upbringing. I think we recognize, all of us sitting here in the room today, about the current situation. I don't need to mention anything further than that, except for we know that whitewashing is taking place. Rewriting our history is taking place. So for someone to take a stand to make sure that we maintain these very critical institutions, I'm all for it. And again, I'm honored to support this endeavor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, sir. So everyone has their voting machines, and hopefully they are connected. And at this time, please vote. C R.
Motion carried.
Okay. Oh.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you so much. And again, this will be on the July, we're in July now, July 14th meeting to codify what has done today. And we will look forward to seeing what Oakland County does, because again, this is in tandem with Oakland County. So we'll stay tuned. Thank you for coming today. We appreciate you. Look forward to answering any question that you, any commissioners may have. I know you make yourself available to answer any questions. So thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right. All right. Next item.
Such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Are there any such other matters for today? Any such other matters? I'll just say that, of course, we do have full board on this Thursday. So, we still have full board right before we celebrate the 4th. Council.
And through the chair, so as indicated, we talked about the appointments and membership of this board. When this goes to the July 14th meeting, I think it's anticipated or requested that that appointment from both the CEO and the commission be made at that time, in order, but just because they have a short time frame, if they're going to get this on the November ballot, they have an August 11th deadline to get the authority established, get the ballot language to the secretary, to the county clerk. So I believe that it's anticipated that those appointments will also be made at that time.
So that being said, if any commissioner has an appointment suggestion, please send that to me along with their resume, and I'll sort through them and make a recommendation that we can then vote on the 14th as well. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Any such matters? Is there a motion? I'm sorry. Public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to give comments at this time? Is there anyone on Zoom for public comments? No? Oh, we have public comments here. All right, gentlemen. I know. The police. Public comments and hello, gentlemen. And you have 2, maybe 3 minutes today. You normally it's 2. I'll give you 3. And make sure that the green light is on at the bottom of the stand. Okay.
All right. I'm Corporal Alan Cox. I'm the president of Wayne County Deputy Sheriff's Association.
Okay.
I've been before this illustrious body before. I'm not a complainer. However, I've come to complain again about actions of the Wayne County Sheriff Office and Wayne County as it pertains to a new position they've created called Police Officer in Charge. And to show that we, our union, along with 3317's union, which is the supervisory union, have come together to lodge this complaint before the board based upon the fact that you asked us the last time we came before you and we complained to try to work cooperatively with the sheriff office and Wayne County via labor relations to resolve our differences. We instituted a good faith effort in meeting with them to talk about the possibility of creating a program that would help streamline supervisors in an area where they said they had a deficit.
Mhm.
We met with them, we submitted a proposal. They received our proposal. They didn't get back with us. They said they wanted to meet with the supervisors. They met with them and he'll speak about how that went. What I'm saying to you today is that yesterday they put into act this provisional officer position, which violates our contract, which violates their contract. The posting itself is 100% a discretionary position, which also violates our contract because any new position or unit created is supposed to be 50-50. That means half seniority, half discretionary. But in creating the discretionary total unit or total position, it seems that they already have parties that they have in mind for the position, which we feel is an affront to our membership. So I'm not going to take too much of the time. I just want to say we came here to let you know that we would like this body to require all the parties to get back to the table and recommend that they work with us, both unions collectively, to resolve this issue. And that we are outraged by the way they have conducted themselves in reference to this, because you asked all parties to work collectively to move forward so that we wouldn't have to come back here and do this.
Right. Okay.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. How are you?
So, from a standpoint as the president of ASME 3317, I literally just met with labor relations about this provisional officer. There were certain terms that we asked in the meeting. One of the terms I asked was that the officers be master corporal instead of provisional sergeants. I asked for them to allow them to get sergeant pay, but stay in POAM's union until a test is governed. I've asked for a test date. We haven't had a test date since January. I've asked for, give me all the vacancies inside of the Wayne County Jail. They're telling you there's 17 vacancies. I work inside of there. I can tell you it's not 17 vacancies.
More or less?
I would say less.
Less.
Okay. So they just promoted a sergeant. And when the sergeant got promoted, instead of bringing them where the shortages was inside of the jail, they sent them out to the roads. So the county kind of does what they want to do. Okay. I'm here with the other union. We stand because we are servants. We're here for our members. I'm not here for me. I'm here for them. If the provisional sergeant thing is to work, we have to collectively be together. I sat, they gave me a letter of agreement. I read their letter of agreement. After reading it, there was too many loopholes for me to sign. So I revisioned it. I sent it back to them the next morning with all the revisions. Instead of looking at my revisions and sitting back at the table with me, they pushed it through. So that's why we're here today. We're here in unity. We would like for the sheriff department to work with us, but it's very hard. And this young man has been in the union longer than me. I haven't even had a year, and I can tell you it's a struggle. Okay.
Give me your name for the record, please.
Lieutenant Donald Watts. President asked me 3317.
Thank you.
I would like to lastly say this. For the last 5 years, the union has petitioned the sheriff's office in Wayne County for a moratorium on supervisory promotions. The reason being is we argued and consistently argued that our deputies were being forced due to mandatory overtime to work in an excess of 16-hour shifts. So we felt that if you did a moratorium, you would at least allow our staffing levels to reach a certain level where the exacerbation of having to work so much overtime would alleviate itself. So through the collective bargaining process and through raises, wages, and incentives and recruitment efforts, we fostered a growth. We have now more numbers coming in, but we still have an excessive mandate for overtime. And there's now one developing in the supervisory union. Our consistent argument with them is that the current way that they're managing these things is inefficient, and that there has to be a collective model developed cooperatively with the unions to establish a pipeline that brings in the necessary staffing to secure both areas. And it can be done, but we have to work collectively together. And the manner to which they are bargaining is offensive, and we don't like it. And this brings us to this table to address it.
And your request from us is to encourage the sheriff and labor relations to work collaboratively with you all to come to some common ground. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Just so we can know where our directive is.
To pull a posting, to get back to the table so that they can work with us to draft something that works for both unions and is conducive to the growth and the enhancement of the environment, and not just to certain parties in the sheriff office or Wayne County.
And it's specifically the police officer in charge position.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming here. We appreciate it. We can certainly talk after the meeting for more information if you have anything in writing you'd like to share with us as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any additional remarks by members? I'm sorry, remarks by members. Public comments, where are we? No remarks by members, not today, no. Any additional public comments? Public comments. Okay, hearing none. Next item.
Adjournment.
Motion to adjourn? All right.